The Health and Wealth Radio Network.
If you've decided to get back to feeling good again like you used to feel, then you're invited to tune in to the Dr. Bob Martin Show. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob, at your service Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
This is Talk 1470.
Talk 1470.
WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
AMP2.TV presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on AMP2.TV. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
I see like 5 people.
Oh. Welcome, everybody. I am your guest host, Elise Montgomery of Tell Us Your Biz. And tonight, my co-host is my darling, adorable 11-year-old daughter, Peyton. Hi,
Hello.
Peyton.
Hi, Mother.
Hello,
Mommy.
Peyton. So I wanted to first introduce myself to everybody. I am a mother of 2 and also a life and parenting coach. As you see, my daughter Peyton is 11, and I have an 18-year-old son by the name of Spencer. And real quick, I'm just going to tell you how I got into what it is that I do. When Spencer was 2 years old, which was 16 years ago and not so pervasive, he was diagnosed with autism. And very quickly, I sort of went into crazy mama bear mode and had a whole team of specialists in my home dealing with the autism, and he was cranking through his program. But in the meantime, Spencer's behaviors were horrific. And so what do I mean by horrific? Horrific is 7 tantrums a day lasting anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. So for all of you out there, that's a lot of the day for me to have a child having tantrums. That's kind of rough. So anyway, I took him all over the country doing all different types of therapies and talking to all the different doctors and reading every book I could get my hands on. Please, somebody, I'll pay you anything. Just make my child behave and stop throwing tantrums. I think a lot of parents can relate to that. We would do anything and pay anything for somebody to help us do that. But what I realized was, after trying to have anybody and everybody have Spencer behave, that really it had to come from me. That all the specialists out there could not take the place of me, his mother, the parent. And when I changed all of my actions and reactions to Spencer, that was when life at home changed for us. And I had to become a different type of mother than I originally thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be the cool mom and sort of do all the fun things and not have all these restrictions and not have to be so strict. But Spencer only really reacted to very strict guidelines. So I had to learn to parent him the way that he needed to parent, that he needed me to parent him. So that's what I did. And I learned so much. I sat in on every therapy he ever did and really learned so much that I used to give out advice to all my friends when they had parenting problems, because like most moms or dads, we can sit around and talk about our problems with our kids, and I used to just solve them all. So my friend said, you know what, Elise, you should do this for a living. So I did. So that is my story and where I come from and what I do. But so I thought that it would be fun as a parenting coach to have my daughter as my co-host tonight and guest. And we were thinking about what is it that we wanted to talk about? What would be an interesting topic? So Peyton said, what did you say?
I said, like, we should think, like, if you're to give, like, kids like to sometimes rack up a huge list of gifts, sometimes not a lot, like maybe 2 or 3. but sometimes certain gifts you just don't feel comfortable giving, or you just don't want to get for them.
As a parent, it might not be an appropriate present.
Yeah.
Okay.
For instance, I wanted an Apple Watch, but my mom didn't feel comfortable with me like acquiring that, around the world.
Right.
Like at school, she didn't feel comfortable. So, she explained to me why. Most parents, which I'm not trying to assume, but like some parents might not say, why they're not going to get it. So the children or kids are like, why don't I get this? Like, sometimes they want an explanation. Sometimes kids work better with explanations so they know why this is happening.
Got it. Okay, so that's very interesting that you say that, because that was a strategy that I picked up when Spencer was actually tantruming for, hours upon hours a day. And I had to try and figure out sort of a way to get him to stop. And we can let our kids sort of scream it out all day long. And that certainly is a strategy that I used and worked. But then there came a time that I needed to talk him through why we were doing what we were doing because of his rigidity. And I actually call this the validation strategy. And that is when I just simply give an explanation as to why I'm doing something or it needs to be done. And Peyton, you very rarely ask for anything. So it actually broke my heart to not be able to give you the Apple Watch, but I did have a good reason. And all I did was say, darling, I love you, and I would love to get you that Apple Watch. But you know what? Too much electronics. That is way too much access to all types of electronics. And I just thought that at 11, that she wasn't quite ready to be that responsible with it. So
to be honest, I lose a lot of things.
Well, not just responsible in terms of losing it, but being able to not get distracted by knowing that, a text could be coming through when you're in school, things like that. That's a big responsibility. And I thought to myself, that's probably too big of a responsibility. So Peyton's saying she was very appreciative that I gave her that reason, and I didn't just say no. I can remember a lot of times where you would say, Mom, can we go outside and play, or can we do this, or can we do that? And I try to always get into the habit of not just barking out no. If I can't do something, I try to at least offer some reason.
Because sometimes if you don't get an explanation, children are like, why, or this or that. And I was like, I understand. And also, another solution, which is the same as what we're talking about right now, is if you were to not want to get into why right then and there, when it comes time for Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, I don't know what Kwanzaa is really,
Christmas,
or Christmas,
I don't know if they have
the holidays,
right.
If you open presents, then if they don't get it, you can say, I'm sorry I couldn't get this for you, and then explain that. Mm-hmm. But it's your choice when you want to get into that.
But so you were very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, like some children don't, have big lists. Mm-hmm. Few things. Other kids, on the other hand, have ginormous lists of like 50 things. And they personally know, depending on the situation, that they're not going to get the whole list that they asked for.
No, nor should they, right?
They shouldn't.
Gotta see. Now it's funny because as parents, I always think, what does a child think about what we do? So you can hear it from the parent's perspective, but you can also hear what it feels like from the child's perspective.
I mean, a lot of parents, want to give to their child, but, there comes a point where, you're not going to get a whole list of Christmas gifts.
Did you ever think you would hear that? My God.
So what you could do is, if they have a big list, you could ask your child, is there, maybe 5 or 10 gifts that you really want? So, I know if I were to get you this gift, you'd rather have that than that.
Right.
You'd rather have a Switch than have a board game.
Right, exactly. And so 5 or 10 is a lot, and we can make 5 or 10 little tiny things like tacks on a board could be one,
Tacks on a board?
Well, like tacks. I mean, you got earmuffs as one present.
I thought,
5 or 10 big presents seems kind of like a lot.
I thought you meant TAX.
No,
I'm
no.
what?
Your Christmas, Hanukkah present this year, pay your own tax return. No.
No.
One of the other things that I think people always want to know and get into the head of a child is when parents get upset at something that the child did that is wrong, because we're not perfect, right? I'm not perfect. Are you perfect?
I'm not, but I like to think you are.
Thank you, dear. I'm not. I think I think that parents feel really, really guilty when they have to give children consequences. So if a child who you're very close with, as Peyton and I are, does something that is not correct, not ideal, and talking earlier today on a different radio station about consequences and not being your child's best friend, was that I have to know when to come in and give a consequence. So I think it's so important for parents to know how to dole out the appropriate consequence. So Peyton and I were talking about this, and this is something that I teach all of my clients is how to pick a consequence. So Peyton and I were talking about something that recently just happened between us.
So we were brainstorming something that happened earlier in the year. Well, no. Last year.
Last year, at the end of the year.
I realized that. In late December. Mid-December. And I didn't talk as respectful to my mom as I should have, and I should have phrased it differently. So, say you wanted...
Well, let's just set up the exacts so people understand.
So
we
were sitting in bed. Mom was folding laundry, because that's what moms do. Kids, you should definitely help your moms if they ask.
Ooh.
She was doing her stuff. Spencer and I were sitting on the bed, and we were trying to brainstorm ideas what we could do for the day. I said I wanted to go to a trampoline park.
Well, important side note is that I said to both my kids, because they couldn't agree on something, I said, you know what, why don't you guys pick one of each, right, Peyton? You pick something, and Spencer will pick something, and then we'll do both.
Yeah, so we'll do one of each. So I wanted to do a trampoline park. Spencer wanted to go walk around Del Rey or the mall or something. Mom was just up for anything. But then, I doubled back on my trampoline park because of Mom's past with car accidents. She can't
I have a couple herniated discs, so trampoline park. The thing is, Peyton wants me to participate in the activity with her, so I can't jump on the trampoline.
I doubled back. I'm like, not a good idea. We don't need another.
Right, we don't need more herniated discs.
So I said bowling, but I didn't really think this one through because I didn't want to go bowling. I just thought, because there's 3 different people in a way. Spencer likes to go walk around, stroll around. I like activities, like doing stuff like active jumping around. Mom is up for anything that we'd like to do. It just has to be in her range of what she can do with her
physical
back and
capacity.
What she can't.
Okay.
So it's hard to agree on one thing and keep it different in variety. So
to be fair, I said Peyton had put out there, let's go bowling. So I said, okay, so I'll tell you what. First we'll go bowling, and then we'll go walk around the mall. And this is what I was met with. What did you say?
Fine.
Oh, not like that. Oh, girl, how did you say it? You have a smile on your face now. No, she did not say fine. She said this. After she had just told me that she wanted to go bowling as an option, she said... In the perfect preteen way.
Your face.
Fine. Well, that's what you looked like. Fine. And
I also do want to go skydiving, but Mom's like,
off the table, sorry. So she said, fine, with the biggest attitude. Oh my gosh. So parents of preteens or teens. And meanwhile, here I am trying to do the nice thing for my kids, and she gives me the biggest attitude, and it was not ideal, and I just got so mad, and then the day was canceled. But so what I said to Peyton was, and it's funny because this is how I've always dealt with any kind of behavioral issue with her, is to sort of take it right back to what the problem was. So the problem was she didn't say what she meant. she was just trying to comply, and then when I actually said, okay, let's do that, she was not happy.
I put a lot of choices out there. I'm like, the chance of bowling being picked is like,
so what's the right
20%.
What's the right consequence? This is the $1 million question that all parents want to know. With that attitude and you being not your adorable self that you're being right now, what is the correct consequence?
I just want to put one thing out there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm talking way too loud into the microphone. Not trying to do any ASMR here.
Okay. What's the perfect consequence?
So depending on the age of your child, if they could stay home, if you're comfortable with that or not, you could say, you know, if they're allowed to stay home, you could say, you know, you're going to stay home. You're not going to get any electronics. You and me, and if they have a sibling, will go out and do whatever they want.
We're going to have our fun time, and you can stay home and do nothing.
Yeah, and if they don't have a sibling, you can say, well, you can stay home, and I'm going to go do what I want. I'm going to go get a facial. I'm going to go get my nails done, whatever they want to do. Now, if they're not of age, what you could say is, like, you know, you're not going to get any electronics, and you're going to have to come with us.
Schlepping to do the thing you don't want to do.
Same thing with, like, the sibling or no sibling. You're going to have to come with us and do what we want to do or what I want to do.
Right.
You know?
So
you don't get any word. If say I had that situation, say Spencer said, oh, I want to go shopping, and no offense, sometimes he takes like 2 hours shopping for like one t-shirt. It happened before. It was really bad. And you don't have any electronics, and you're like, well, I don't really want to do this, but that makes the child think, you know, if I didn't say that before, I don't want to have to be going through this.
I wouldn't have to be schlepping.
I could be doing some of what I want to do.
Exactly. So this is something that I've done with Peyton, you know, at a very early age, is try and make the consequence appropriate for the action. So, for instance, when she was a lot younger, she may not even remember this, but when she was a lot younger, she would be watching TV. It would be time to come to the dinner table, and I would say, Peyton, turn off the TV. And
I ignored her.
And I don't really like to ask twice. That's my rule. I don't really like to ask twice. And so the way that it normally plays out with parents is, it's time to come to the table. It's time to come to the table.
Have a cowbell.
A cowbell, an alarm bell, the fire bell. And you know what? And then you ask 6 times, and by the 7th time, you're frustrated, you're annoyed, and you yell at the top of your lungs. And you're like, I said come to the table. And you know what? Nobody's happy. Nobody's happy. That's just not ideal. And then you're at the table and everybody's all mad. So what I do with Peyton is, okay, I ask once, you're going to ignore me. If I have to come over there and turn off the TV, then
the next day, and including that day at the time, if it's lunch, or I guess if your parent calls you over for breakfast, I don't know.
Some people do, I guess.
I don't know. I eat breakfast when I want, as long as it's in, like, you know, a breakfast time. I mean, who knows? You could eat breakfast at 2 in the afternoon, but depending if you're a college kid wakes up at 12.
Yeah, well, what is it that I did?
But you'll come, turn the TV off, and you'll say, you know, no electronics for today, or in the next day, or depending on the severity of the whatever. You know, if your teen's not listening to you, you're like, okay, no Xbox. But if your kid's not listening to you, you're like, okay, depending on like the time or what you want, don't make it too severe. Like, no electronics for like a year. You know, you can say like, you know, you don't get your electronics for like the next 3 days or something.
So the way that I frame it is that, you know, Peyton just hears, oh my gosh, like no electronics. But the way I frame it is, let's work together on this. This is not so much as a punishment per se, but a lesson learned. So by taking away the electronics or the television or whatever it was that was causing Peyton to be so distracted by my come to dinner, please, we are going to eliminate that distraction and say, you know what? Let's work on your listening skills for the next couple days. We're going to put the TV away and, you know, let's see how you listen tomorrow when I ask you to come to the table. And if you can listen like that, then we can try and bring the TV back in.
Yeah, so it could depend on what your child's like, what they don't like and what they like. It could be a no consequence, like it doesn't affect them. It could affect them, or it could really affect them.
Right.
What the point where it doesn't affect them is like, you know, I don't care if you're talking to me, I don't care if the TV's gone, I have some other things to do. The affection is like, I don't care if you talk to me, but I don't like not having the TV, or vice versa.
Right.
Now, they're really affected, which is sometimes me, because I don't like getting that taken away from me, but also, I hate talking. Like, when it comes to, I don't like talking about, like, when I'm in trouble. I don't like that.
No.
I try to, like, wrap it up.
Oh,
she,
yeah.
She just starts, she says, oh, this, and I'm just like, oh, yeah.
Wrap it up, mother, which makes me madder.
And I'm just like, bye.
Yeah. Yeah, take your consequence, no conversation. Okay, so she doesn't like the chit-chat part about it. But you know what? Actions speak louder than words, and no point in talking about it. It's more important that I just follow through on the actions and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And I have to say, as a result, Peyton is a pretty good listener.
And if you know that your child's fine with talking, you could do it in a different way for talking. You could do it in a more aggravating way for them, like...
So talking, meaning that's part of the consequence, is talking about it?
So depending on...
It's so annoying to you to talk about it, that's going to be part... Thank you, I just got some good intel on my daughter.
No, like, for certain children, if they don't mind talking, like, just one-on-one, but they don't like talking in front of the whole table, like at dinner you can bring it up to like annoy them, and you can tell them, like, each time you get in trouble, if it is like to the point where I need to talk to you, I will do it at the dinner table.
Oh, embarrassment.
Yeah.
Major embarrassment.
So that it's not only that consequence,
yeah,
but they also have the consequence of, I don't want to be like told off in front of
everybody.
Table.
Oh, that's harsh.
So to make them feel more uncomfortable and not want to do it anymore, do it to where they don't want the talking part or the consequence of having it being taken away.
What are your friends going to say at school tomorrow when you've given all these tips on how to punish kids? I'm not sure you're going to be the most popular child at school tomorrow. No. I don't think so. We're not going to let any of your friends know that you were on the radio tonight.
Okay, wait, I don't really text Scarlett.
They're going to be like, what are you doing telling the parents how to handle us? You know what? I think parents want to know what works. I really think parents want to know what works, what doesn't work, what children feel like. I mean, I don't want my child to feel, or children rather, to feel bad at the end of the day. It's very important.
Because, children try not to get in trouble.
Right.
They know that, like, the consequence is bad, even if they haven't even had it yet in their life. They just know, like, that's not going to be good,
So
I haven't cussed in my life, but Mom says, like, I was like, if I do it wrong,
that's
right. I don't want to know the whole situation.
No bad words. No bad words. I feel like it's also super important because a lot of times what you hear parents say, or you'll hear authorities say, or teachers say that, this child's just looking for attention. That's why they're acting out. So it's really, really, really important that you spend quality time with your children. Peyton and I have a bedtime routine, and we've come up with a lot of different things that are pretty cool, that are just, are in our own little world, that matter to us, that we can sort of share just on our own. And I encourage parents to, really, really take the time to have a nice bedtime routine with your child. I mean, she's going to be 12 in just a couple months, but still, we will sit, we'll talk. It's a great time. I mean, how many times have you gotten in the car with your child after picking them up from school, or you they come home from school and you say, "How was your day, sweetie?" And they're like, they have nothing to say. They're exhausted. They don't want to talk about it. So,
like, nah,
right,
man, I'm gonna go.
Bedtime is a great, great way to connect with your kids.
Because they're not in an uncomfortable environment, just you and them. And if they don't want to talk, fine, just sit there and relax. And they've eaten, so, like, they're not cranky.
Not cranky?
Because some children get cranky, like, if they haven't eaten. And, what I was saying earlier was, like, children know, like, they don't want to get in trouble, so they try not to.
Right.
So they're not in trouble many times. So the parents don't have, like, a lot of time to see, like, it's trial and error. They need a few times to see what, like, if that, like,
To see
brain farting. I'm brain farting on the word. If that system of, taking that away and doing it so they're uncomfortable when you talk to them, not
if that doesn't work.
If that doesn't work, like they need a lot. They need a trial and error. You need
trial
another
and
time
error. Okay.
to try a different way to see if that one works. And it takes a long time, but your child's not going to get in trouble so many times.
No, you hope not.
You hope not.
You hope not. You hope not. That's for sure. We don't. I think it's tricky. You want your children to listen and
you want them to not get in trouble too many times, but they have to learn. So they're learning, what not to do, and you're learning which way for punishment is most effective on them.
Yes. And I think it's important to also make sure that you do spend quality time with your children. I mean,
you should set up dates. Like, pick 5 things your child wants to do with you. Like, if your child and your dad, they say, oh, I want to play basketball with you, at least once a week. You could set that up in your calendar.
Right.
So you
Peyton and I just did that because
it's
getting crazy. My schedule's getting crazy, and we actually had to put it in the calendar
so we don't overbook.
We don't overbook Mom. And I'm not doing too many things at once when I'm supposed to be hanging with you. So we put it in my calendar, and it says, watch TV with Peyton. And even though that's sort of a passive thing to do, we're still together. We're still hanging out, and it's a show we can talk about together. I think the important thing that people need to understand is that parenting is not a passive role. It's super important. And as I said in the beginning, that I really tried to sort of push it off to other people. And it has to be us. It has to be the parents. We chose this. And we have to be there for our kids and be present and not rely solely on schools and coaches. And
because even though, your child, if they're homeschooled or not,
Okay, thank you.
If they're homeschooled or not, they're spending 6 to 7 hours a day at school. And that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And you have the whole morning you don't really see them. So from the 12 o'clock a.m., 12 o'clock p.m.
Yeah.
Or a.m. again. Most of the time, at least 12 hours a day, they're sleeping.
Yep. And then they're at school.
So they're either sleeping a lot. Children say I'm weird because I get 10 to 11 hours of sleep a night. And they're like, what? I get 3 hours. I'm like, what are you doing at 5 o'clock in the morning?
That's me.
Nothing. No, I'm like, well, go to bed, get some sleep.
But the point is that even though you're...
they spend so much time sleeping or at school or hanging out with their friends. My stepsister, actually, she's rarely home as far as I see. She's always out with her friends. And she doesn't really bond with her mom. I bet she does when I'm not there, but she bonds a lot with her friends and not her mom.
She's a teenager, so it's a different time. She's a young teenage girl, but they had plenty of bonding time when they were younger. But the important thing I think for people to understand is that, look, parenting is not passive, and even though your children are so many other places, you need to be the major role in your children's life. That will be who you are. They're going to hear your voice when they have to make a decision that's right and when they're alone and they don't have you. So make sure that it's your voice that is the most prevalent voice in their head.
But also make sure that you might want to rule with an iron fist in your household, but you need to make sure that
Oh, it was over. That's what that was. Bye.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224